So I'm in Australia right now at Uluru Kata Tajuta National Park, which is like Ayers Rock and the Olgas, as it was named in English, but now they've officially changed it to the Aboriginal name. And yeah, I just wanted to talk about some of my thoughts on Australia so far. First place I went was Sydney. I only spent a day there. I'm going back there again on the way back. And my thoughts on Sydney was it very much felt like the mirror image of Toronto in a way. Like it felt a lot like Toronto or Vancouver. Like it felt like a Canadian city in many ways. Just like the demographics, especially like the fact that it's probably like minority white at this point and majority like a mix of Indians, Middle Easterners, and East Asians, predominantly like people from the Asian continent, plus I guess North Africa, whatever you want to call it, the Greater Orient, like those three civilizations combined, like Middle Eastern, Indian, and East Asian. Also, I think it has similar urban planning to Toronto in a lot of ways, in the sense that, like, you have the core downtown area, which is largely skyscrapers, like modernist skyscrapers with a few historic buildings sprinkled here and there. Then you have an area surrounding it, which is largely composed of historic, kind of like Victorian era row houses or, close together houses. So basically like traditional architecture largely in those surrounding areas that surround the core downtown, which is more modernist. And then as you get out further, you get into like suburbia, but also in the suburbia, there's pockets of like areas that are full of condos and stuff like that. Especially near the commuter rail lines and the subway lines. So yeah, I mean, it's similar to Toronto in that regard. One thing that's confusing in Sydney is that they consider it commuter rail, but it feels more like a subway, like the system they have. It's very confusing. It's like they call it commuter rail, but to me, if it walks like a duck, if it talks like a duck, it's a duck, and it feels more like a subway system than a commuter rail system. At least some of the lines do. I don't know. It's a bit confusing, but my point is, yeah, overall, similar vibe from what I gathered. I went to the Blue Mountains, which are beautiful. Three Sisters. There's some like rainforest type scenery down there too, which is very beautiful. There's a place called Scenic World. I know it sounds cheesy, the name, like some like shitty like roadside attraction, but it's actually fucking gorgeous. Like great views of the Three Sisters, and the rainforest trails are just absolutely stunning. Like certain types of trees they have there, I didn't even know they existed. Like these like fern palm trees, basically. They're like palm trees, but with like ferns on the top. Very lush, very green. Now out here, this is in the Northern Territory. I've been to Uluru, Ayers Rock, and now I'm here at Kata Tajuta, or the Olgas. And yeah, it's, again, like many similar patterns to what I noticed in North America with the tourists. Like at these national parks, predominantly white and often very good looking, like fit, young, healthy white people make up the majority, especially as the trails get more difficult. Like when you get away from the parking lots, away from like the viewpoints that don't require much walking, when you go into the areas that do require more walking, it gets very white and very, like, frankly, like attractive white, like like Übermenschen, Überfrauen, basically. Yeah, I mean, not entirely. Obviously, there's some people of other backgrounds, but I'm saying like disproportionately, yes. Yeah. Oh, they're headed to Gastown, Mort! They're headed to Gastown! Got a lorry headed to Gastown right now! Alright, yeah. But anyway, yeah. I probably gave you guys a good jump scare there. But anyway, what was I going to say? Okay. At the national parks, there's a lot of signs talking about like the Aboriginal peoples and their experiences and stuff like that. And they discourage you from like taking photos of of the rocks at certain points. Got another lorry into the gas town. Yeah, but anyway, yeah. There's signs discouraging people from taking photos because the Aboriginals believe that, like, you shouldn't take a photo because it's against their religion or whatever in, like, a sacred spot. And they have these rules about, like, taking photos of dead people and stuff like that. Like, they're very, like, I don't know, superstitious about that sort of thing, like, according to their religious beliefs. And, like, the thing is, it's like, would they ever extend that to, like, Christians being like, don't do this because it'll offend Christians? You know, no, of course not. But also, it's like, it wasn't really enforced. They just said, please don't do this. But a lot of people were ignoring it and taking photos anyway. And it's like, I found it kind of interesting that, like, at least nobody was like, there weren't any, like, purple-haired woke SJWs screaming about it anytime somebody took a photo. I feel like in Canada there probably would have been. I don't know. Maybe people do that sometimes there. I don't know, but it's interesting. And I hope they never start, like, legally enforcing it, because that would really suck. Because, I mean, it's very photogenic sites, and it would suck to not be allowed to take photos there. But it's very beautiful here. One thing is, though, there's a lot of fucking bugs. Like, I'm swatting bugs away. Not so much... Here's not so bad, but when I was in, like, the main viewing area, it was a lot worse. Like, I feel like the bugs go where the people are. This right here is not really, like, a well-known lookout spot. I found it on Google Maps before coming here. So, yeah. No, like, there's, like, no one else here. This would be a great spot to get, like, abducted and murdered. Like, this is pretty isolated. I've had, like, great weather, a lot of great conditions. It's beautiful out here. One thing, though, a bit disappointing is that, like, I haven't seen much wildlife aside from birds. I've seen a lot of different type of birds, but no kangaroos yet. That's a bit disappointing. Haven't seen, like, any snakes or stuff like that. I'm good with not seeing snakes, you know. At least the poisonous ones, yeah, I'm good with not seeing those. But still, it's been very beautiful, like, in terms of the scenery and stuff. It's absolutely stunning. Like, Uluru, Ayers Rock, and here, Kata Tjuta, and the Blue Mountains, the Three Sisters also. Like, yeah, some of these sites are absolutely stunning. And I've noticed there's a lot of tourists here, international ones, like tourists from Europe, from North America, East Asia, like a lot of the world, even some from Latin America. And it's like, I guess the distance isn't that much of an impediment, but also I can't help but wonder, has Trump's actions been helpful toward boosting Australia's tourism industry, because people go here as an alternative to the US because it does have similar scenery to the Southwest? Not only that, but, like, fears of, like, the jet fuel shortages. They talk about, like, Europe specifically in that regard, but not as much here. So I don't know. It might be, like, current events might be driving more tourists to Australia. It kind of drove me here. But yeah, and part of me thought I'd never actually make it here, but here I am, you know. There's some places that, like, if you're, like, middle class, you can kind of, like, take for granted that you'll probably be able to travel to. This is not one of them. I mean, like, if you're from North America or Europe, you know. Anyway, I'm gonna head on now, but maybe I might make another video talking more about my thoughts later as I finish this trip. Who knows, maybe I'll make some more observations. Oh yeah, and another thing, yeah, regarding the Aboriginal population, there's been some riots lately in Alice Springs, and I'm going there next, so I'm a bit nervous about that. Hopefully it won't affect me. I mean, hopefully it won't affect, like, anybody who's not involved. But yeah, I mean, there's that. If you want to watch something funny, look up Don't Sleep on the Road, that video on YouTube, and also Don't Sniff Petrol from a Can. There's some pretty hilarious public service videos from the Northern Territory regarding certain issues within the Aboriginal community, such as people sleeping on the road and sniffing petrol out of cans. The funniest thing is in the video about Don't Sniff Petrol from a Can, it's actually like a song like, we are the people of Nara Nara land, you don't sniff petrol from a can, the petrol into the car it goes, don't be sniffing petrol up your nose. And the funny thing is there's this part where it's like, it looks like there's gonna be, this guy comes in and it's like, you know, sometimes in a song when they have somebody rap, like for the bridge or whatever, for the bridge of the song, like some rapper guest stars and does like a few verses rapping. It's like, it sounds like he's gonna do that, but then he doesn't even rap. He just like talks about a bunch of stuff. It was just kind of funny. It's like, yeah, he couldn't even like rap and make it rhyme. He just started just talking. But yeah. Anyway, that's my thoughts on that. And yeah, also I've noticed like, yeah, there's a lot of like poverty among the Aboriginal community here. Like I see a lot of Aboriginal people driving like, you know, really shitty cars and stuff like that. And yeah, I mean, here's what's interesting. There's this community right by Ayers Rock called Mutu Juju or something like that. And it's the Aboriginal village nearby. And a lot of them are employed in the tourism industry. But they don't let people who don't live there come into the village. It's actually like closed off by law, which is something I've never heard of happening in North America with like native reservations, like just other than during the big event of 2020, 2021. But yeah, they just close it off to people who aren't from there. I guess non-Aboriginal or just anyone or whatever. And I'm thinking like, I'm surprised they can legally do that. You know, that's more like something I've heard of in like Russia, like closed cities or whatever, closed towns. But also it's like, they probably could make a good deal of money off like tourism bucks if they let other people in. Like people would go in there to like buy stuff or whatever just to visit it, and they'd probably spend money. So it's like, I don't know, maybe they feel like their culture will get diluted by it. I guess I understand it from that perspective, but it's like at the same time they can make so much money. Yeah, it's kind of the issue that we all face regarding immigration and globalism. But I mean, in their case, it's like, it's not like everybody wants to live there or anything. Interestingly, I looked up the community is only like 71% Aboriginal, so it's like 30% of the people who live there are non-Aboriginal, and yet they still they close off the community to outsiders, but yet they're okay with like 30% of the community being non-Aboriginal. So I don't know, it's a bit confusing. But yeah, anyway, that's my thoughts on all that.